Last part of discussion on goals is going to be on the Ballanced scorecard. Yeah, so Ballanced scorecard. Now, Ballanced scorecard is the way how you set up most detailed goals that we sometimes call KPIs. Here the idea is that when you're managing a company and you set up goals, most companies, at least from my experience as a consultant and trainer, especially those smaller and middle-sized companies, will only set up goals that are financial in nature. In other words, they'll all set up goals such as we want to achieve that and this much revenue, this much profit for the next year. All right, great. Such goals are not bad. I mean, it's still better to have at least these goals rather than just go to the manager and tell them do your best, right? That's even worse case than setting up only financial goals. But the problem with financial goals is that they can always be played with, and so as such, having only financial goals in your strategy is not a correct way to create a strategy. Why? I'll explain to you. Imagine that you will inherit a restaurant. This restaurant, let's say, imagine that you will inherit two same identical restaurants, right? So restaurant A is generating revenue of $1 million. Restaurant B is generating revenue of also $1 million. Wow, now you're really lucky. You have two restaurants, right? Both of them generating revenue of $1 million. So they're identical. They're, for example, Hong Kong restaurants, right? They're in Shanghai. It's a small, tiny chain of two restaurants. Now, since you're still studying, you don't want to be managing the restaurants in person, so you decide to hire a manager. Manager comes to you and say, listen, I think it would be a good idea to change our strategy. Maybe it would be better to open to change the Hong Kong restaurant to a Xinjiang restaurant, right? And you say, well, I don't know much about restaurant business, right? But I trust you. You're my manager. Yeah, I pay you money to make these kind of decisions, right? So okay, so I'll leave that to you. All right. So the person then you have change of strategy. So now you'll be thinking like, okay, so how do I know that my strategy, the change of strategy, was a good idea, right? And people will tell you to buy the finance, right? If a Hong Kong restaurant was generating $100,000 in cash, then and the Xinjiang restaurant $200,000 in cash in the end profit, then the Xinjiang restaurant was a good idea, right? You change strategy, but you're generating more money, so it was a good idea to change your strategy. Well, it's more difficult than that. I'll just show you why. Imagine you're running two restaurants, right? And one restaurant A has a manager A and restaurant B, manager B. And now, in the end of the year, this restaurant A generates $100,000 in profit, and this restaurant B $200,000 in profit. Yeah, like this, $200,000 in profit. Okay. Okay, let me write it here. So 100,000 and 200,000. Okay, that's the profit. That's what's there in the end. Okay, so which of those restaurants is managed better? So if you would think that your strategy can be evaluated, the strategy of the manager can be evaluated based only on the financial indicators, you would say, this guy is better, he made more money, in the end, there's 200,000 left, it goes to my pocket, right? Might be true, but also might not be true. The point here, you cannot answer this question. You would have to know what are the financial details of this report, so to say, right? So maybe this manager B just canceled a 100,000 and a marketing department that would annually cost $100,000, right? So here's a marketing department that costs $100,000, and here's also $100,000 costing marketing department. This guy cancels it. Now he generates more profit because the cost of the marketing department is cost, right? So and that decreases the amount of profit. Yeah, well, is it a good idea to cancel the marketing department? Well, for the first year, maybe it seems like it is, because you will generate more profit. You just save the cost. But the next year, right? Well, maybe due to the fact that this restaurant kept its marketing department and this one canceled it, this restaurant profits can be much higher, or revenue can be much, maybe it's 2 million. But for these guys, since they don't do any marketing and advertising, it might be still the same, or maybe even less. And now you tell me whether this or this restaurant is better managed. Now you tell me which one is better managed, right? So the lesson learned here is that you cannot evaluate strategy based only on financial indicators. So next time you're reading the news that Apple the value of Apple on the stock market went down because of the quarterly reports and because of the decrease in profit, well, that's nonsense, right? You cannot judge whether the Apple is more or less valuable just based on a quarterly decrease in profits. Maybe Apple invested into new technology. Maybe there can be some other reasons. Maybe they just started a marketing campaign that will bring them lots of benefit in the second or third quarter. All these reasons might be the reason why the profit plummeted. Maybe it's temporarily, maybe it's not, but it really depends how Apple spent those money. But those reports will mostly not tell you, right? So now you know that managing a company based on financial indicators only, mostly revenue and profit, is not a really good way to go, because it can backfire, especially taking into account that managers have all the incentives to play with these numbers. So manager B wanted to cancel this marketing department because generating more profit is beneficial for him, right? He can then take higher bonus at the end of the year. And maybe next year he doesn't care because he'll not be with the company anymore, right? So we cannot let the managers manage only reporting or following or being rewarded based on financial indicators. We need something better than that. Now, what's better than that? What's better than that is something called Ballanced Scorecard. Now, what is Ballanced Scorecard? Ballanced Scorecard is a tool that was developed in the 1990s that basically allows to set goals in several areas that are important for the success, long-term success of a company. Before I explain what areas are those, like, think about that. Imagine what makes a person live a happy life. Is it just the money that you make? Is it just your career? I think we all agree that no, right? There are other areas of your life that are important to have some sort of success in them. Relationships with your family, with your friends, your health. You can be the richest person in the world, but if you're very unhealthy, it's no use, right? Yes, the money is also important, right? Maybe your career, maybe you're learning, to improve in a way. So there are many areas, we just now count maybe 5, 6 of them, right, where there are important for you to judge your life as a successful life, right? And you should have goals in all those areas and achieve goals in those areas. Health areas, right? Have a certain weight, have a certain ability to, for example, run a little bit or just walk stairs, right? That's one maybe goal in health area, right? The relationships area, you should have a good relationship with your children, with your spouse, with your parents, right? That's a goal, right? You can have goals in your learning area. That's why you study MBA, or maybe you want to improve your English, right? You should have studied in your finance area for sure. You want to make more money because money is important. It's not the key thing, but it's important, right? You should have goals in your career development area. You don't want to be still doing the same thing forever, right? You want to improve, you want to grow. The companies are the same in a way. Companies are artificial bodies, but yes, they also need to watch out for more area than just the finance in order to grow and develop in a healthy way, right? So what are those areas? First of all, there's customers. So Balanced Scorecard, BSC, you can abbreviate it, is there to set up goals in different areas. The first thing you want to set up goals is your customer area. These goals would be goals such as how many new customers we want to have next year. So, for example, in this in the example of restaurant, I say for the next year we want to have 500 new customers per month, right? How do I measure that? I ask them when they leave restaurants where they visited us before. Just one question, right? Not all of them will answer to me, but I have statistical methods to find out the actual number of the new guests, right? So I can have how many new customers for the next year. Let's say I'm making a plan for 2020 Balanced Scorecard, right? So I can have goal in the customer area. I want to set up, I want to have 500 new customers every month in 2020. That will be a customer goal. Now I want to have customer satisfaction, certain customer satisfaction. When the customers leave my restaurant, I want to ask them certain percentage. And if they answer, I want to measure that. Were they satisfied or were they not satisfied? And I want to have increase in satisfaction by, let's say, 20%. It might be another Balanced Scorecard goal for the next year, right? So let's just stick with these two examples in the customer area. So customers are extremely important for the livelihood and future of the company, but they are not the only thing. The second thing that is very important for me is my employees. Yeah? Without employees, I'm nothing. Now, every successful business owner will agree with that, right? So I need to make sure that my employees are happy, so to say. So I want to measure things. I want to set up goals in this area. I want to have employee satisfaction at certain percentage for the next year. I want to have decreased employee turnover by a certain percentage, by 10%. I want to have employee trainings. I want to have 20% of employee training communication in 2020. So that can be my goals in the area of employment. Then there's operation. Now, operation is a bit tricky one, harder to imagine what it is. It really depends on what you're doing. So for an automotive company, for example, a typical operation goal would be how much time it takes to make a new car. So for example, for 2019, I have 19 days to produce a car, but I want to improve. In 2020, I want to have only 18 days, right? So that would be operational goal. For restaurant, let's say I can measure waiting time. I can measure that in 2019, a customer has to wait on average for 16 minutes for the food to be delivered, but I want to improve. I want to measure that for 2020, it's going to be 14 minutes, right? So that would be my goal in the operational area, right? I want to set up goals for wasting, yeah? So I know that 10% of the food that I buy, I actually waste. I don't cook it. It goes bad because I didn't create a right plan of purchase, right? Purchasing plan. So I want to decrease this to 8%. That will be another goal in operation. And the last thing is financial. And that is the simplest one, right? I also need to have some financial goals for sure. I want to know how much money I want to make, what kind of profit I want to generate. That's probably something that most companies will not omit. What the companies will omit are those three preceding ones, that you want to have goals also not only in the financial area, but also the goals that are somehow concerning your customers, your operation, and your employees. Setting our goals, however, is not the end. The most crucial part now comes with creating a plan of how to achieve your goals. Goal without plan is a dream, as people say, right? So once I set up goals in these areas, I also need to create plans, right? So if I, for example, want to decrease, let's say, in operation area, I want to decrease waiting time by 2 minutes, average waiting time, then I need to, for example, buy a new machine or hire a new cook. That would be an action plan of how I achieve this goal. Now, in your resources, you can also Baidu or Google. You will find many examples of balanced scorecards. Obviously, every company has a different balanced scorecards, different goals, different things to measure, right? But we are, all of them somehow revolve around these 4 goals. And the idea here is, again, that you should not be satisfied with only having goals in the financial area, but adding also goals in those other areas that are important for the success and life of every company.